Hi, Friday, August 12th, 2016. Monaco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'd like to talk about currency crisis and how precious metals are a panacea to a currency crisis, wherever you may be in the world. So, first of all, panacea, what does that mean? Well, it's a solution or remedy for all difficulties or disease. It's a universal cure or a sovereign remedy. That's what a panacea is. And the reason I'm talking about this morning is that here in the UK, after the Brexit vote and leading up to Brexit, the British pound has devalued quite a bit. We've devalued 12% since the beginning of the year against the dollar, even though we also have devalued about, over 30% since the crisis of 2008, but that's been longer term. So I would say that what we've had this year is a currency crisis. We started the year at 147, around 147 against the dollar. We're now, around 129.50. So that is a currency crisis. So the other point I'd like to make is that the mainstream media here in the UK, if you read all the papers and you listen to LBC radio, which is the most popular talk radio, I would say, here in London and probably in the country, they report on the markets, and all they say is the pound buys, $1.30 this morning. The FTSE is up 20 points at 6,900. But they never mention gold and silver and what gold and silver have done, which I find quite amazing. Nor do any of the newspapers and financial newspapers like the FT. They talk about gold sometimes in dollars, but never in terms of pounds. And I've noticed people I talk to, they say, "Oh yeah, the FTSE is doing really well. I have a lot of shares. I'm happy with it," and well, that's good. But I've looked at the numbers since the beginning of 2016, and these are numbers up until the 11th of August, year to date until yesterday. So the British pound has dropped, and I'm going to talk in terms of British pounds, because that's what we use in the UK, and that's what people use. People use their home currency to buy things, to live. So the value of the home currency is important. So the British pound has dropped 12% year to date versus the US dollar. The British pound has dropped 46% versus gold year to date. The British pound has dropped 10% versus the FTSE 100, which is the equivalent of the S&P 500 in the US. And you might ask, why don't you say the FTSE is up 10%? No, we're talking about the currency. So yeah, the FTSE has lost 10% of its value against the FTSE 100. The pound has lost 66.7% against, guess what? Silver. Yes. So, yes, you have protected yourself a little bit by owning a basket of stocks in the UK, like the FTSE 100. But you've actually lost in terms of value. If you take the dollar as the standard of value, which at the moment it is, it's the reserve currency, you've actually lost 2% in dollar terms, because the dollar has risen 12% against the pound, and the FTSE has only risen 10%. But, against currencies that have had thousands of years of track record, gold and silver, and maintained their purchasing power throughout the ages, the pound has lost massively this year. So To give you an example, numbers wise, for UK investors, if you had £10 invested in dollars at the beginning of the year, £10,000, that would be worth now 11,200. So you've done well there. If you had 10,000 invested in the FTSE, it's now 11,000. Not as good, £200 worse off. But if you've invested in gold at the beginning of the year, that £10,000 worth of gold is now £14,600. So that's done really well. And in silver, the £10,000 you had at the beginning of the year is now worth 16,670. So if you look at different countries like Venezuela, anywhere, like the Asian crisis in 1997, 98, when their currencies collapsed, if you had gold, that will always protect your wealth and the value of your wealth over a currency crisis. So it is a panacea to a currency crisis. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. If you enjoy my analysis and my channel, please like, share, and subscribe. We also accept donations, any amount, as small as you'd like. I've got links below to Bitcoin, PayPal, and Patreon. Take care. Bye.